The night was quiet until a voice tore through it, sharp and accusing.
Don't move! Hands where we can see them!
Danielle Rivers froze under the sudden burst of red and blue light. Her duffel slid off her shoulder and hit the ground with a dull thud that echoed through the empty parking lot. For a second, she didn't move. Her body didn't know how to. Too tired, too startled, too aware of what could happen next.
Ma'am, step back!
Another voice barked, this one closer, heavier. 2 officers were moving toward her fast. One older, built like a wall, the other younger, jittery, flashlight trembling in his hand. The younger one's face looked more nervous than angry, but the older one's didn't.
Stop right there.
He said again, pointing the beam of his light squarely at her chest. Danielle blinked against it, her hand halfway raised to shield her face. "Officers, I think you've made a mistake," she said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "I'm staying here, room 214. Just got off work." The older officer tilted his head slightly, skeptical. "Got a call. Somebody said a woman was trying to break into the hotel." "Break in," she repeated, disbelief slicing through her exhaustion. "You think I'm breaking in?" He didn't answer. The flashlight stayed fixed on her. The younger one stepped a little closer, squinting at her. "Where do you work?" "St. Mary's Medical Center," she said. "I'm a nurse." The older cop's tone hardened. "At this hour?" "Yes. People don't stop getting hurt at midnight, sir." The younger officer's light flicked briefly across her scrubs, the badge clipped to her chest, the faint smudge of blood near her collar. Something in his face softened, not much, but enough for her to see it. The older one noticed too, and his jaw tightened. "You got an ID?" "It's in my bag," she said, gesturing carefully toward it. "Keep your hands where I can see them." The words hit her like a reflexive slap. Her muscles locked up. Her chest rose and fell too fast. She took a shallow breath. "I just want to show you my ID." "Not until I say so." She could feel the hotel clerk watching from the lobby, not coming out, not helping. Behind the glass, someone lifted a phone, recording. Her face burned, not from fear this time, but from humiliation. 12 hours of service. 12 hours of holding pressure on open wounds, talking families through grief, fighting to keep strangers breathing. And now, she couldn't even reach for her own identification without permission. The irony twisted in her stomach. She thought about the last patient she'd seen that night, a young man shot in the chest, his blood splattering across her gloves. She'd worked until her shoulders shook, whispering, stay with me," until the monitors steadied. He'd lived. She'd walked out covered in someone else's life, proud and broken at the same time. And now? Now, she was standing in a parking lot, treated like she didn't belong anywhere. "Sir," she said quietly, "please? I'm just trying to get to my room." The younger officer shifted. "Maybe we should just check her ID." The older one hesitated. Then, grudgingly, slowly. Danielle lowered her arms an inch at a time, her fingers trembling as she bent down to pick up her bag. Every move felt too loud. The zipper, the fabric, the uneven breath she couldn't quite control. She pulled out her wallet and opened it under the harsh white beam of the flashlight. The badge glinted in the light. Her photograph, her name, her title. Danielle Rivers, lead trauma nurse, St. Mary's Medical Center. The younger cop leaned in, his light steady now. The older one peered over his shoulder, and for the first time, his expression shifted. A flicker of something between confusion and disbelief. "Wait," the younger officer murmured. "St. Mary's?" Danielle's hands were still shaking. "Yes," she said. "Why?" He turned to his partner. "That's where they took Mark, right? Last spring, the shooting off Peachtree?" The older officer didn't answer right away. His shoulders stiffened. His jaw clenched. "Yeah," he said finally. "That's the place." Something quiet passed between them, a look Danielle couldn't read, but felt in her bones. The younger one turned back to her. "You were working that night?" She blinked, confused. "I work most nights." He nodded slowly. "But you were there. I remember. I think you were the one who—" "Enough," the older officer cut him off. His voice dropped, rougher now, not angry, almost uncertain. He took a step closer, his flashlight trembling just slightly in his hand. He looked at her face like he was searching for something, a memory maybe, a moment he didn't want to find. "Your name's Danielle, right?" She nodded. "Yes." The sound of it hung between them, heavy, familiar. And in that pause, the color drained from his face. Because he remembered. The hospital corridor. The blood on his partner's uniform. The voice calling out vitals. The woman in scrubs whispering, "He's still with us." That woman was her, Danielle. The same woman he just ordered to keep her hands in the air. The realization cracked through his composure like a fault line, but he didn't say anything. Neither did she. They just stared, two people standing under the same flashing lights, both realizing that justice and gratitude don't always live in the same room. The younger officer swallowed hard, glancing between them. "You saved him," he said quietly. "Didn't you?" Danielle didn't answer. She didn't have to. The lights still flashed, the hotel clerk still watched, and the world kept turning, but something in that moment had shifted. The same system that had nearly crushed her under suspicion had once depended on her steady hands to save its own. And as Danielle stood there, her heart pounding, she realized something that would stay with her long after the lights went out. You can save someone's life, and still be one wrong assumption away from losing your own. For a few seconds, no one moved. The red and blue lights kept flashing, rhythmically spilling across Danielle's face, making her skin look pale and tired and caught between disbelief and survival. The older officer, Sergeant Collins, was still staring at her badge. His lips parted but no sound came out. The younger one looked from him to her and back again, his confusion growing into something else, recognition. "Wait," the younger officer said softly. "You were there, weren't you? St. Mary's. Last spring." Danielle's heart was still racing, her voice raw from repeating the same sentence that had gone unheard minutes earlier. "Yes," she said, her throat tight. "I work there. I'm a trauma nurse." Collins blinked slowly, his gaze fixed on the name printed on her ID. The name he hadn't expected to see again. Danielle Rivers. And just like that, it came rushing back. The hallway smell of disinfectant and blood, the sound of boots on linoleum, the woman standing over his partner's body yelling, "I need another bag of O, negative," while he waited outside, praying. He remembered the moment a nurse walked out, that same face, same eyes, and said quietly, "He made it." Now she was standing here, hands still trembling, and all he could think was how easily this night could have gone the other way. He lowered his flashlight. "You were the one who saved my partner," he said, almost under his breath. Danielle didn't answer right away. She looked at him, confused, uncertain. "Your partner?" He nodded. "Officer Mark Taylor. Gunshot wound to the abdomen. You worked on him. I remember." Her eyes flickered, that recognition you can feel before you find words for it. "Yes," she said softly. "He was lucky." The words sat heavy between them, true, but weighted. The younger officer took a slow step back, the adrenaline draining from his face. "Jesus," he muttered. "Sarge, she's the reason he's still alive." Collins didn't respond. He was still trying to reconcile the memory, the gratitude he'd once felt for her, with the suspicion that had just lived in his voice. The irony of it all stung deeper than he could say. Danielle finally lowered her arms. Her shoulders ached from holding them up, her pulse still loud in her ears. "So, can I go inside now?" Her tone wasn't angry. It wasn't defiant either. It was flat, that quiet exhaustion that comes after fear, when the body's done shaking but the soul isn't. Collins took a breath, his voice rough. "You can. Of course." She nodded once, not moving yet. The younger officer muttered, "We're sorry, ma'am. We shouldn't have." But Danielle's laugh cut through him. Not a cruel laugh, just hollow, tired, a sound that said, "You're too late." "Shouldn't have," she said. "You had your hands near your guns. I had a badge and a hotel key." Her voice cracked slightly on the last word. She knelt slowly to pick up her duffel, her hands still trembling, her breath shallow. The zipper caught on the corner, and for a moment she just stared at it, at her own bag, her own things, like she needed to remind herself that they still belonged to her. When she finally straightened, she looked at Collins again. "You called me ma'am," she said. "You know, earlier you didn't. You said hey." He swallowed hard. "I didn't mean." "You did," she said, but not with anger, with truth. "And I'm not saying that to shame you. I just need you to understand how fast everything changes for people like me. I went from saving lives to fearing for mine in the same week." Her words hit him harder than any accusation could have. The truth didn't need volume, it just needed to be spoken. The younger officer looked down, guilt heavy on his face. Collins kept his eyes on her, struggling with the weight of what had almost happened, what could have happened. He wanted to say thank you again. He wanted to apologize. But both words felt too small now. "Danielle?" he said quietly. "I don't know what to say." "Then don't," she said softly. "Just remember next time before you pull that light on someone who looks like me." The sentence wasn't bitter. It was weary, like something she'd said in her head too many times before tonight. The hotel's automatic doors hummed open behind her, warm lights spilling out across the pavement. She didn't turn right away. "You know," she said, still facing the street, "I remember your partner. He was scared. You could see it in his eyes. But when he woke up, he thanked me, over and over. Said he didn't think people like me would even be there for him." Her voice faltered for the first time. "And I told him, in that room, everyone's equal. I meant it then. I still do." She turned to look at Collins, really look at him. "But it's getting harder to keep believing it out here." That silenced everyone. Collins' flashlight dropped to his side completely. The younger cop turned away, pretending to check the radio, but really just trying to breathe. Danielle adjusted her bag, her badge catching the light one last time. She started toward the entrance. "Danielle," Collins said suddenly. She paused, half-turned. "My partner, he still talks about you," he said. "Says he never got to thank you properly. You gave him his life back." Danielle looked at him for a long moment. Her expression softened, not forgiving, not cold, just human. "I'm glad he made it," she said quietly. "But tonight, you took something too." He frowned slightly. "What's that?" She held his gaze. "Peace." Then she walked toward the glass doors. The motion sensor clicked, and they slid open with a gentle sigh. The light poured over her like dawn trying to break through the night. Behind her, the patrol car lights still flashed against the building, a constant reminder that the line between gratitude and fear was paper thin. Collins stood there for a long time after she disappeared inside. He thought about his partner. He thought about her words. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel like the man who'd upheld the law. He just felt like the man who'd broken something he couldn't fix. The elevator doors closed behind her with a tired metallic sigh. For the first time in what felt like hours, the world went quiet. Too quiet. Danielle pressed her back against the wall, clutching the strap of her duffel like an anchor. The cheap hotel elevator hummed softly, its light flickering just enough to feel like it was breathing with her. Fast, uneven, unsure. Her reflection in the steel doors didn't look like her. The face staring back was pale, drained. Her eyes, once sharp from years in trauma bays, now seemed hollow, rimmed with red. She let out a shaky laugh, but it came out sounding more like a sob. "You're okay," she whispered. "You're okay, Danny. It's over." But her voice didn't sound convinced. She tried to breathe deep, like she told her patients to do when the pain hit too hard. In through the nose, out through the mouth. But every inhale still tasted like flashing lights and gravel and humiliation. The doors opened with a soft ding. She stepped out, her legs heavy, her body moving on memory alone. Room 214. Third door on the left. She fumbled with the key card twice before it finally clicked green. Inside, the room was small, 2 lamps, 1 unmade bed, the TV remote half buried under a folded towel. She didn't turn on the main light. The dim lamp by the window was enough. Her bag hit the carpet with a soft thud. Then she sat on the edge of the bed and didn't move for a long time. The adrenaline was fading, and with it came the shaking. Not from fear anymore, but from everything she'd been holding in. 12 hours of work. 12 minutes of terror. and the realization that both had come from the same country, the same streets, the same uniformed hands. She rubbed her palms together, feeling the ghost of the hospital still there, the faint smell of antiseptic clinging to her skin, the memory of lives she'd helped piece back together. Her hands could still stop bleeding, still restart a heart. But tonight, they couldn't even reach into her own bag without permission. The thought landed heavy. She didn't fight it. She let it sit. She looked down at her ID badge still clipped to her chest. The picture was 2 years old, smiling, confident, proud. That woman had believed the world saw her as she saw herself. Capable, useful, good. But tonight that photo felt like a lie. She unclipped the badge and laid it on the nightstand. It hit the wood with a tiny click. That sound, so small, was the sound of everything she carried crashing into one place. She covered her face with both hands and finally let go. Tears came in quiet waves, not dramatic, not loud. Just real. The kind that come from deep inside when you realize how fragile it all is, the distance between who you are and what the world decides to see. In the hospital, she was Nurse Rivers. Tonight, she was the woman in the parking lot. The knock on the door startled her. 3 slow, hesitant taps. She froze. A beat passed, then a voice from the other side. "Ms. Rivers?" Her stomach twisted. That voice. It was him. Sergeant Collins. She wiped her face quickly, her throat tight. "What do you want?" No answer at first. Then through the door, soft, uncertain. "I just wanted to make sure you were all right." Danielle stared at the door, jaw clenched. "You sure that's what you wanted?" Silence. "You don't have to open it," he said. I couldn't leave it like that." She stood, walked slowly toward the door, but didn't open it. Her voice came out quiet, trembling but controlled. "You humiliated me, officer. You made me afraid to breathe." "I know," he said, his tone low. "I didn't see you. I didn't see you." "Yeah," she said bitterly. "That's kind of the problem, isn't it?" He sighed. "If I could take it back, I would." "But you can't," she said. "Because for you, it's a mistake. For me, it's a memory." There was a pause. The kind of silence where truth sits too loud to fill. Finally, Collins said softly, "I'm sorry." Danielle leaned her forehead against the door. "You said that already." "I'll say it again if I have to," he said. "You saved my partner's life, and I treated you like a suspect. That's on me." Her voice cracked. "It's not just on you, Sergeant. It's on everyone who sees fear before they see a face." He didn't respond this time. And that, she thought, was the most honest thing he could have done. She waited a few seconds before she heard his footsteps fade down the hallway. When it was quiet again, she opened the door just enough to see the folded piece of paper slipped under it. A note, scribbled in shaky handwriting. "You deserved better. I'll remember your name this time." She stared at it, then folded it neatly and placed it beside her badge on the nightstand. For a long time, she stood there, half in the doorway, half in the dark, listening to the hum of the city outside. The sirens, the cars, the soft hum of a world that kept moving like nothing had happened. Then she whispered to the empty room, "You'll remember my name, but you'll never understand the weight I carry." She shut the door, turned off the lamp, and sat back on the bed. Her eyes stayed open long after the lights went out. She never really slept. When the alarm on her phone buzzed at 5 a.m., the sound felt cruel, like someone shaking her shoulder while she was still halfway inside the night. Danielle blinked at the ceiling for a long time before she moved. The red glow from the hotel clock bled through the dark, the numbers switching without mercy. For a few seconds she thought about calling in sick. She even opened the message app, typed, "Can't make it, stomach bug," then deleted it. People would need her. They always did. And maybe that was the only thing that still made sense. She swung her legs off the bed and sat there, elbows on her knees, staring at the carpet. The world outside the window was gray-blue, that thin color the sky gets before sunrise. Cars hissed by on wet asphalt. Life continues, same as ever. She went through the motions, had a shower, and drank coffee from the lobby machine. Hair pulled back tighter than usual, pinned on her hospital badge and set off for work. By 6 a.m. she was walking the 3 blocks to St. Mary's. The air smelled like rain and exhaust. Every passing cruiser made her throat tighten for half a beat. At the entrance, the security guard waved. "Morning, Nurse Rivers." She managed a small smile. "Morning, Tony." Inside, the hospital was already awake, machines humming, voices layered, the world she understood. Someone handed her a clipboard. Someone else asked if she could cover bed 7 until the next shift arrived. She nodded automatically, her body remembering what her mind was too tired to think through. In the locker room she changed into fresh shoes. Maya walked in behind her, hair messy, eyes kind. "You look wiped," she said. "I am," Danielle admitted. "Didn't sleep." "Rough night." Danielle gave a half smile that wasn't really one. "Yeah, you could say that." Maya waited like she wanted to ask more, then thought better of it. "Well, coffee's terrible today," she said, handing her a cup. "But it's hot." Danielle took it. "Thanks." The small kindness almost undid her. The first patient was a construction worker with a deep gash on his hand. He grinned nervously, said he was fine. Danielle cleaned the wound, bandaged it, cracked a joke about battle scars. He laughed, grateful. And for a moment, something inside her loosened. This was who she was. But between patients, the night replayed in flashes. The glare of the flashlight, the tremor in her voice, the sound of hands where we can see them. She'd catch herself holding her breath, then force a smile for whoever was waiting. Around mid-morning Dr. Ellis found her in the supply room. He didn't ask right away, he just passed her a pair of gloves and said, "You look like you need a real breakfast." "I'm fine," she said. "You always say that." He leaned against the counter, arms folded. "Whatever happened last night, don't bury it. Things grow in the dark." She looked down at the gloves. "I just don't want to be angry at everyone." "Then don't," he said gently. "Be tired, be human, anger comes later if you pretend you're not hurt." That landed harder than she expected. She nodded once, eyes burning, and slipped past him before the tears could follow. During lunch she sat alone in the staff courtyard, half-eaten sandwich on her lap. Her phone buzzed, a message from Collins. "They're reviewing the stop. I told them everything. I know it doesn't fix it, but I'm trying." She stared at the words until they blurred. Then she typed back, "Trying is a start. So is listening." She put the phone face down, looked at her hands, steady again, familiar. A breeze moved through the courtyard, cool against her skin. She thought about quitting once, years ago, when the work felt too heavy. But saving people had always been her way of staying anchored. Even now, after everything, that truth hadn't changed. By evening, the rhythm of the ward had wrapped around her again. A child with a fever. An elderly man asking for extra blankets. Kind things, the type of things she does every day. When her shift ended, she stood for a moment in the doorway of Trauma Bay 3, the same room where she'd fought for Mark Taylor's life months ago. She ran a hand along the cold railing of the bed and whispered to no one, "Still here." Then she turned off the light and walked out, the echo of her steps mixing with the steady hum of the hospital, proof that life, somehow, kept its pulse. By the time Danielle reached the end of her shift the following evening, the hospital had gone soft and sleepy. The noise of the day, alarms, orders, footsteps, had thinned to the hum of monitors and the muted shuffle of night staff. She signed her last chart, hung her stethoscope on its hook, and felt the ache settle into her shoulders like a familiar visitor. Maya caught her on the way out. "You got a minute?" Danielle hesitated, half-turned toward the exit. "Yeah," she said finally. They walked to the small break room off the main corridor. The vending machine buzzed. Someone had left a half-finished crossword on the table. Maya poured 2 cups of burnt coffee and handed one over. "I heard about what happened," she said quietly. "Tony told me. Said the cops stopped you outside the hotel." Danielle's fingers tightened around the cup. "I didn't tell him to," she said, defensive out of habit. "I know. He's just worried." Maya sat down across from her, voice steady. "We all are." Danielle exhaled through her nose, long and slow. "It's weird," she said. "You think after a night like that you'd be angry. But mostly I'm just tired. Tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Maya nodded. Yeah. The kind of tiredness that lives in your bones. For a moment neither of them spoke. Outside the door, a heart monitor beeped twice and went quiet again. Danielle looked down at the dark surface of her coffee. Last night I kept thinking about all the times I've walked into a room and people have trusted me instantly. Families hand me their babies. Men twice my size cry into my shoulder. And then outside, same face, same hands, and I'm suddenly dangerous. Her voice wavered. I keep wondering which version of me is real. Maya reached across the table, resting her hand over Danielle's. Both, you're both. The difference is who's looking. That simple sentence hit somewhere deep. Danielle blinked hard, then let out a shaky laugh. You're wiser than you look. I read a lot of bad poetry, Maya said with a grin. Helps. They sat for another few minutes, talking about small things. The new intern who fainted during rounds, the cafeteria's terrible soup, until the heaviness eased just enough to breathe around. When they stood to leave, Danielle felt lighter, not healed, but less alone. Outside, dawn was bleeding back into the sky. The city smelled like rain again. She walked toward the bus stop instead of the hotel, the air cool against her face. At the curb, a police cruiser rolled to a stop for the red light. The driver, young, maybe her age, caught her eye through the open window. For a split second, instinct made her tense. Then she noticed the officer's partner in the passenger seat, head bowed over a cup of coffee. A familiar face, Mark Taylor. He glanced up, recognition spreading slowly into a surprised smile. He tapped his partner's arm, motioned toward her, then lifted a hand in a small, awkward wave. Danielle hesitated, then returned it, small, polite, but real. The light turned green. The cruiser eased forward, taillights blinking once before disappearing around the corner. She watched it go, the tightness in her chest loosening like a held breath finally released. Across the street, a child dropped a stuffed bear. Danielle bent to pick it up and handed it back to the girl's mother, who thanked her without a second glance at the color of her hands. Such a tiny moment, but it felt like the world, for once, doing what it should. When she reached the hospital courtyard, the first shift of nurses was gathering, yawning, trading stories. Someone waved her over for a group photo. New hires, old veterans, the messy family that kept the place running. She hesitated, then stepped into the frame. Maya nudged her. Smile, then. It's for the bulletin board. Danielle smiled, not the practiced professional one, but a small, honest curve that reached her eyes. The camera clicked. A flash of light. For once, not the kind that accused, but the kind that captured. Later, as she walked back inside, she passed the bulletin board and caught sight of her old badge photo still pinned there from an award ceremony years ago. Same face, same hands. Now a little older, a little stronger. She touched the edge of the photo, then turned toward the ward as another pager call echoed down the hall. Work waiting. Life waiting. And for the first time in days, Danielle felt steady again. Not unscarred, not untouched, just steady. She could live with that. That night, as she walked out into the cool air again, the city lights reflected faintly in the hospital's glass doors. She could see her own reflection. The nurse, the woman, the survivor, layered over the world she still believed could change. For a long moment, she stood there, her badge catching the light. It wasn't proof anymore. It was just part of her story, one she'd keep wearing, not to be seen, but to remind herself she mattered even when she wasn't. Some stories don't end with justice or grand apologies. They end with people learning how to keep walking in a world that's not always kind. Danielle's story reminds us that healing doesn't always roar. Sometimes it sounds like showing up again, doing your work, and choosing to stay human when you have every reason not to. Every day, someone like Danielle is out there, saving lives, teaching, building, creating, while quietly surviving a moment they shouldn't have had to survive at all. And maybe that's where change begins, not in the headlines, but in how we see one another when the lights aren't flashing. If you were in Danielle's shoes, would you have confronted the officer or walked away? And what do you think kindness should look like in a world still learning how to see people clearly? Let's talk in the comments. Because stories like this only matter when we start the conversation they're meant to begin.